You're very aware of what could go wrong. You're calculated. You can see the areas where it could go wrong. But you said a key thing is you trust him. But do you trust him blindly? That's what I need to know. Do you just do you trust your husband blindly?
No. No.
Okay, so
Not blindly.
So explain to us, what does that what does that mean? Welcome back to Kingdom Heirs, to another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business. Today, we have a key question that we want to ask, and we want to answer it as well. Taking risks in life as a married couple in business. How do we do that when one spouse is has a very low risk tolerance, and another spouse has extremely high risk tolerance? Is there a balance? And if so, how do we get there together? So, welcome. Today we have Melanie and David Freymiller. And we know them quite well. They happen to be neighbors of ours. They've been married for the past 27 years. They have 4 daughters, and they have been in business together for the past 25 years. David and Melanie own and operate 3 successful businesses here in Corpus Christi. Melanie, a graduate of Baylor University, has her bachelor's in business and in marketing. David is a graduate from Del Mar College with a communications degree, as well as a master's from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So, David and Melanie are also active members in our community and are very involved in the church community as well. I would like to say that they're probably some of the most connected people in our community. They know who's who, and they're very involved. And so whenever I'm interested in knowing what's going on in town, I'll typically ask my neighbor, David. Thank you guys for being here. Welcome.
Thank you.
James, we're honored. Thank you. We feel the same about you guys. You guys have become great friends, so we're glad to be with you.
Thank you. You know, one of the things I remember is how we first met your family. And I think it's important to say it.
Yeah, we were trespassing on your property.
Yeah. No, that was the second time.
Oh, okay.
So the first time, Megan and I, we had just bought some property out kind of in the middle of farmland country. And we were out getting ready to go pray over the property. We always believe, before you buy a piece of property, you should pray over it. So we're out there praying over it, and we meet we meet you, David, and we're like, oh, hi, we're the Madalones, and hi, we're the Freymillers, nice to meet you guys. And you're like, oh, you guys are moving in. Yeah, we're going to build a house, and we have 3 girls, and oh, we have 3 girls too, and oh, that was so cool. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And we saw each other, I think, a year later. We were getting ready to build the house, and at that point, you guys were expecting your 4th daughter. And I was like, get out of town. Megan and I were expecting our 4th daughter too, which was really cool. So one of the things that we want to kind of talk about was, looking at being an entrepreneurial family. Why did you decide to get into business? Why did you start your own company? Why did you guys get in there? I mean, you were in radio, successfully in radio. Melanie, you were working for another firm. What were you doing when you came out of college? Where were you working?
Well, I started out working Enterprise Rent-A-Car and learned some management skills, and then I went to Spawn Home Care.
Okay.
And then we got married, and I worked there up until I had Madison, our first. And then I was a stay-at-home mom. Yeah.
Cars. I didn't mention this. David and Melanie own Harbor Parking. It's the valet service for the whole city, I would venture to say. Also have what else do you do?
We also have Harbor Driving that kind of spun off from the parking business. People kept asking me to drive them places. So we started just a separate business as a driving service with Suburbans and, private charter type driving.
Yeah.
Taking people to airports or Houston or dinner. And then we started during COVID, the hospitals were asking us to serve as greeters inside the hospital to ask the questions and take temperatures. And so we spun that off to a separate business as Harbor Hospitality. So we have Harbor Driving, Harbor Parking, and Harbor Hospitality.
So kind of, smothering the industry.
That's right.
Right? Making money in every aspect of the industry.
Yeah, meeting needs, exactly.
Well said.
Yeah.
We talk about how business is, business is really, it's service.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to serve. We provide a service for our community, and it's a fee for service and of sorts. Mm-hmm. So why valet? How did you get into that? That's such a niche market.
Yeah, that's a great question. I started in high school. Just a friend of mine was doing it and asked if I wanted to park cars one weekend. I was like, sure, why not? Yeah. So I did it like, wow, this is the coolest job ever. Get to be outside. I love being outside and park cars. I was making more money in tips than my friends did flipping hamburgers. And so, plus it was flexible. Like I was going to school or working a full-time job, and it put me through college, just kept doing it through college. Then, like you said, when I got a master's, I thought, all right, I got an MBA, I'm going to take on the world.
Right.
There was nothing out there. I was like, I don't want to sit behind a desk all day looking at papers, and I was making more money parking cars. So,
Wow.
So I just kept doing that, and eventually the owner was retired, and I helped him a lot, and eventually he turned it over to me. And
Wow.
Here we are.
Okay, so that's Melanie. What did you think about that? You guys were newly married, right?
I never dreamed that valet would be our income source.
She was done with college,
Yes.
gainfully employed. I was still in college, flopping around.
And I told him, we're going to get this done. Get the college part done. And,
Yeah.
But I didn't think that would be a sustainable income, for our family. But he grew it and developed it into one. And
Yeah.
it was never my favorite because it took weekends and nights and holidays and
Yeah.
a lot
That's
of
true.
sacrifice there. But
A lot of sacrifice. I mean, that's true. I think that's something that people in the community, they see us entrepreneurs and they say, "Oh, wow, they've got nice houses, they've got nice cars, they seem to be doing well." They really don't see the backside of it. And what's that like? What is that? I mean, Megan and I know what it is, but I mean, and you guys know what it is, but not everybody else understands that. What I mean is that we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and being entrepreneurs, and I think that there's a place where we can talk about how faith gives us strength to do what we do. There's wisdom in it, what to do, what not to do. How does it affect our marriage? It's not all about growing revenue, right? I mean, that's a big part of it, but that's not what it's all about. What's it about for you? Why are you guys?
There was a
in
lot
business?
of sacrifice, and she has put up with so much. James really has. So many anniversaries that a job would pop up last minute. Oh, there goes our anniversary plans, or birthday.
Yeah.
Or every New Year's Eve, we didn't spend New Year's Eve together. Our whole marriage until I was in an accident and just came out of the hospital, and I couldn't work. So she's been so patient and so understanding with all of that.
Yeah.
Even recruited her to come help me with something she's not comfortable in. On some jobs like, who wants to work on Valentine's Day? That's when you're with your family.
It's
and
true.
that's why we had
your
to
loved
work
one.
because nobody else wanted to
nobody
work.
else would.
Tell me about that. So
And that was early
So
on.
you guys as a family, what did you guys have? What did you guys do? What do you mean?
Well, there was an event.
Don't you have people? You just hire people, and the people do all that work for you guys, right?
In theory, it's gotten better now that we've been able to build up a team and build momentum and get things going.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot better recent years. But back then, as we're getting started, is Valentine's. The Lexington here in town, a museum has an annual Valentine's dance event. It's real neat. Couldn't get anybody to work. No one would work. I was like, what am I going to do? And I don't want to turn down business and disappoint them. And so I got my wife to help. Her parents helped.
Wow.
You got your parents. You got your parents to help.
My parents were out.
She's
my
like,
mother
this
was
son-in-law
driving a
of
shuttle
ours,
van.
what is he doing?
But they were supportive,
They
all along too.
Their mom was driving a shuttle truck, driving me back and forth to a parking lot, and she would drive fast. I was hanging out for dear life. I think she was trying to get rid of me at the
I
moment.
love that. This son-in-law of mine.
I'll show this guy.
Can't he just get a regular job? Can't he get a job?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's good because she came from, her dad was a banker hours. Her mom was a nurse, just very secure, good income.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that? Like, what were you thinking when you married me?
Well, seriously, because it's different. I mean, Megan has a similar background, right?
Yeah, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad is a civil engineer.
Yeah, you could see though the work ethic that he had, and so I knew whatever he did, he was going to put 100% in it, and he was going to really go all in. So I was not concerned about any of that. Just wasn't used to that kind of lifestyle,
it's different.
My parents did the 9 to 5, so it was different.
Yeah, go to college.
Yeah,
get a good degree, get a good job, and camp.
Right, security.
Camp there, secure, work the ladder, right? And I think it kind of asks the question is can anybody be an entrepreneur? Can everybody just be a business owner? I mean, what do you think about that? What's your thought on that?
I would say no. There's just like this passion in me that I have brothers and sisters that are totally different. My brother's a pilot. He's very structured. He knows
Sure.
when he's flying. He
And
knows
we
when-
want them to be. Those
Yeah,
guys need to be-
exactly,
They,
yes.
they can't be squirreling.
I don't want them out till
Yeah.
3 in the
No
morning
squirreling.
parking
Yeah.
cars.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's great, and we get along great, but I think we're just wired differently. So I would say, and you probably don't have, okay, like I would build 3 more businesses today, and if I was gone, you would sell all the businesses. So
That's really good. That's funny.
she's told me that.
I asked Megan the same thing. I said, Meg, if I'm gone tomorrow, what would you do? What would you do?
I don't know.
Would you sell it? Would you keep it? Would you run it? What would you do?
Which one? I think it
Yeah.
would depend on which one and how much you are able to delegate those businesses. Because when a business is just based on you personally, I can't be you when
Yeah,
you're not there.
that's
so
true.
that business then would cease if you ceased. If there is something that you delegated a lot that I could actually, do without you, then it's something I could keep.
Okay, so what I heard you say is, if I set up a really well delegated company, hey, that's cash cowing, you would keep operating it.
If I could.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, that's good. That's fair. I think that's kind of the
could.
point.
Real good answer,
And
yeah.
it brings it to the point of you have solo entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and then you have guys that have teams, that built teams, right? And most of us start off as solo.
That's right.
Us with helpers are just like, but we are the main crux of all of it. What was that like when you transitioned from being the guy that was primarily running everything to getting a team around you? I mean, not just like guys to park cars, but like management team. What was that like, and how did you make that transition?
Yeah, that's hard. It's very hard, and we're in that now. And we have a great team and a director of operations that's over the staffing and hiring and equipping jobs and making sure they all go well. And I keep kind of reach back in again, and it's hard to give him his space. And
Yeah.
we had a big discussion the other day of like what it took to get to this point where he can have nights and weekends off, and nice office, and
And we want to do that. We want to do that
wanna
for our
do that.
teams.
That's the goal, right?
It's
But
all
yet,
about-
today we're leaving. Our daughter's in college. We've been able to go to the home games and leave for weekends, and that hasn't always been the case.
Yeah. So it's a good transition.
It's great,
but it's very difficult.
It is.
I think that's kind of the key thing, is that we can create a lifestyle for ourselves where we actually are enjoying what we've, the fruit of our labor, right? And I think that's one of the keys too, is that I have found as well, and I know it's true for many entrepreneurs, is we spend all this time generating wealth, but we don't create the time, we don't take the time to create memories with our families, right?
Right.
And so I think we talked about this the other day about having quality time versus quantity time, especially people like us who are constantly on the go. What is that? I mean, what does that look like? I mean, so if you had to exchange, your holiday because you knew you'd be working that evening, how would you dance around family time, making sure you guys had that
Right.
quality time? How would you do that?
We would still do it. We'd go the next, Sunday or weekend, have our Valentine's together, and it wasn't as crowded. So hey, so we would
Spend a
make
little
it
less
up.
on the plate as well.
Right,
Yeah.
and as you've mentioned lately, we've been going on ski trips together as a family, and that gives us a lot of, we're away from things or
Right.
We weren't able to do
Disconnected.
that when the kids were younger because we were tied to the business. And,
Correct.
And we couldn't leave very easy, or he couldn't leave very easily.
Right.
And so we missed a lot of those opportunities. So now we're trying to build that in.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now that it's easier.
Remember one week recently, I said, I'm going. And I said, unless it's fire, flood, or blood, don't call me. Just, leave me alone. And they did. I
Work it
didn't get a
out.
single call.
Yeah.
Work it out, team.
Yeah.
Do not call me. Yeah.
So it's there. It's just me letting go is the issue more than them being able to handle it.
Let me ask you something. I mean, as believers, as kingdom-minded Christians, do you think God cares about what we do with our businesses?
Absolutely. He's so concerned about our everyday life and our decisions we make. Yeah, and I know he wants us to take care of people. That's the underlying motive throughout Scripture, I think.
True. Yes.
It's how we treat each other and treat people and do what we
Yeah.
say we're going to do and provide good service.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's what business is all about. I mean, businesses, you see a need that our community has, and you try to meet the need with a service or a product, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, we're actually here to meet people's needs.
I just thought of something. The gentleman I worked for 20 years and pretty much ran the business for him passed away. And when he passed away, I was working at a local dinner club in town and I was finishing up the jobs that he had committed. I thought, okay, this is my way out. I'm finally going to get out of this crazy business. And then one by one, like ladies kept coming out of the club saying, they said that you're going to stay and you're going to keep things going. I was like, I didn't say that. And one came and hugged me and said, oh, we're so glad, David, that things are going to keep going and you're going to keep this going. Like, I never said that. But here I am. I'm still going. So, you know, how can you
Still
say
doing
that?
it. Well, I mean, it's, again, I think it talks about, you know, finding a niche in the market and doing extremely well with it and try to insulate it and cover the different aspects of the market. And, you know, you're there. It's like the hospital. Mm-hmm. You're there now because you're physically there, and you availed yourself to the hospital having a need. I mean, you filled a great spot there, right? Another. You're meeting a need, and you're a friendly, warm smile and face, but and then you're getting monetized for it. I mean, you're receiving revenues for it as well. I mean, so it really is a great. It's a great thing.
It is. You know, it's such an extension of your Christian. I wouldn't really even talk about it at work, but yet the community somehow knows, you know, like
that's right,
that we have these standards.
You mean you don't put Christian fishes all over your business cards and your website?
Because I'll let God down, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
So
human
well
and
said.
just mess things up, and so I don't want to bring him into that. But yeah, he gets glorified through things.
Yeah.
I was thinking at the hospital the other day, there's a gentleman that went into the hospital, was admitted, but he went home on an ambulance, but he'd valeted his car. And the valets, I wasn't there, had nothing to do with it. They said, hey, we'll get your car home and we'll follow the valet back and bring you your keys and get it home.
Wow.
That's nothing. We didn't think a thing. That was a small thing. Like Pat Lencioni talks about little big things. But to him, that was amazing. Y'all would actually do that because I've got no way to go get my car.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it cost us nothing.
But it meant a
makes the world to
ton.
him.
It's that high level. It's top shelf service, and it's obtainable. It's very obtainable. In the end, we're here to provide exceptional service, and in providing it, you know, we can get paid very well for that service, and it doesn't take away from the fact that it truly is still service, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm talking too much. I'll let you answer. I get excited about work.
Melanie, what kind of advice would you give a young entrepreneurial couple who are just starting out in their first company, first business? They are scared, you know. What advice would you give them?
Yes. Well, it's just to be prepared to work hard. I mean, just to work hard and you go through each little problem that comes up just one by one and just look at the bigger picture of working through it together. We've had ups and downs, you know, with it. And it seems like one of us will be up and one will be down at times. So the other one helps the other one get back up, you know.
That's true.
There's been sleepless nights for you when you lay awake asleep wondering how we're going to make payroll.
I mean, we didn't get where we were today without a lot of sacrifice, hard times in the beginning.
Personal savings, all the payroll.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah. We've done without our paycheck, you know, to make sure everybody else gets theirs, and you know, we still have bills to pay. So it's like, well, but it works out.
Yeah.
You know.
We talk about the risk and how there's risk, but then there's reward for the risk. You know, I know one of the things that Meg and I, we've talked about, and Meg has really been a great anchor for me at times when I just wanted to sail the ship, and I would have sailed it directly into a tsunami. And so, you know, we talk about risks, right? And so one of the things I think that I love the fact that Meg and I are very different. But at the same time, we complement each other so very well. So let me ask you guys this. Who has the higher risk tolerance in your relationship?
David.
Yes. That's David.
My risk meter is broken.
It's broken.
Yes.
All right.
I jump out of the plane and build a parachute on the way down.
Yes.
And you would trust that God would give you all the material to build a parachute, right? So there's faith with that risk,
Absolutely.
right? Real quick, you know, with that, you know, how do you think faith ties together with risk?
Well, that's a great question because I think when we work together, like she said, like I'll explain to her the idea that I have, and she'll always say, "Did you think about this? Did you think about this?" Oh, no, I didn't think anything about that. She has discernment on these issues.
I bring the logistics into it, the realities of
but if I say,
what it would take.
Like even quitting my job to pursue a side hustle, which it was a big risk, and I just said, I feel like I need to do this. I've gone as high I can get in my regular job, and it's not going anywhere. I'm burned out.
And we didn't know that this was going to go anywhere, or that it would be enough to support our family, and it was a risk to take. But I had to just say, I trust you. I know that you're going going to do what's best for the family, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. So
Wow.
I have to kind of put aside my insecurities about the risk at times and let him take the lead and see where it goes.
So let me. So you're basically saying that what I hear you saying is, you're very aware of the risk. You're very aware of what could go wrong. You're calculated. You can see the areas where it could go wrong. But you said a key thing is you trust him. But do you trust him blindly? That's what I need to know. Do you just do you trust your husband blindly?
No. No.
Okay, so
Not blindly.
So explain to us, what does that mean?
Like you, yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So you because you mentioned you saw that he's hardworking. You knew he was diligent. He had this attitude of whatever it takes. So how do you trust someone when you see all the warning signs that this could go bad? How do you trust someone in that moment?
It's faith, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've saved us from, like you said, sailing into the tsunami. Yeah. I've wanted to do some partnerships or things that you said were a bad idea, and yeah, definitely were. It's just a real discernment. When we were dating, we have the talks, when we get married and are dreaming together. And she mentioned, wanting to have a family and stay home with her children. And I said, I would work 3 jobs so you could stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
Whatever it took. And which I would, and I pretty much did.
Pretty much did that, yes. Yeah.
Because you had a
Because I love to work, yeah.
But you also, it sounds like you also had a vision for what you wanted for your family.
And I wanted her to be home with the children if that's what she wanted.
Right. And so, I mean, so it's kind of, Megan and I, we had similar conversations about that.
Yeah.
You're awfully quiet over there. Either you're
I'm
not
listening.
awake, either you're not awake yet, or you're just absorbing.
It is early.
So I'll speak a million words before Megan will speak, but when she does speak, I listen because she doesn't speak a lot of words. But in that, just kind of looking at how when we trust. So we mentioned it's a risk. So risk is we see the pie in the sky, or we see the end goal. Right, we see the value as to why we want to pursue it. The risky part is that we don't know the equation. We don't know all the parts of the equation to put it all together. We have a couple pieces, and we know if we just connect A to B, we can get to C, and then D and E will fall together. Right? Like some people say, look, you got to have a solid business plan. It better be right. How many business plans did we write before every idea that we had?
I don't know. I think when I wanted to do a business, you would want me to write a business plan. When you want to do a business, you didn't write a business plan.
You don't need a business plan.
No, he's like, you really need to explain this to me. But
That is funny.
it didn't go like,
It did not cross the aisle. We definitely did not cross the aisle on that.
he's like, well, I don't know. Like, does one do more risk than the other? I think that we both feel like this could go sideways. Yeah, but we both more of like want to support what could happen in the positive part of that. But as a woman, like, security is very important to me.
Yeah.
It's just ingrained in me. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's just different currencies, and a currency for women, I believe, is like a security. Especially when we have children, we want to make sure that everybody is cared for, and that's very paramount.
I know one of the key things that you said to me, and maybe you guys had a similar approach. Meg, you said, James, put X amount of dollars in cash aside. Give me.
I wanted
6 months.
6 months. I wanted 6 months
6 months of income. 6 months of expenses.
Yeah.
Give me 6 months of expenses.
for like for just like whatever our bills were. So if, like mortgage, our car payments, our like whatever food or whatever our children were involved in. That if we were in a really tight spot and it was cash, couldn't ever touch it. Just so that we had that, and that helped me feel a little bit more secure for taking other risks, because I wanted to see things work out well too. But it wasn't just like he and I could rebuild, but to explain that to our children when it was a risk that could go sideways and we could have avoided it. I wanted to make sure that there was a buffer,
a cushion, margin.
Yeah.
I like
I
the
know,
word
like
margin.
a tightrope,
We need
but I wanted
margin.
to make sure there was some sort of safety net, because like we could get through on our own, but like we aren't by ourselves. We have children. And
That's right.
Yeah.
I think from talking, we realized y'all both said the same thing. You said, don't touch your house. Like, I could venture rental properties or investments,
Yeah.
risk that, but don't touch your house.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the nest. We
Yeah,
say don't
yeah,
mess with the
that's
nest.
good.
Well,
And I
that
haven't.
prime security, and
Yeah.
we've said that too. I'm like, you can take mortgages out on all sorts of things, not our home,
Yeah.
She said the same thing.
not our
That's
home.
so neat.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the nest, guys. If you hear one thing right now, don't
Yeah.
mess with the nest. If you're messing with the nest,
Like you can lose a rental property, but don't
That's right.
lose my house.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, so this is kind of what we're talking about. So risk is okay. Okay, I want to just make sure we hit the highlight of this. You can have a low risk tolerance person and a very high risk tolerance person. The high risk may seem like a kite, and the low risk person may seem like the string. And so we will, y'all have helped us soar and get us to heights that we never really thought really could happen. We just had this creative imagination. If that dude over there is doing it, why can't I do it?
right.
Right?
There's that tension that's good. It's
And
healthy.
we need that tension. We want that. Quite frankly, I want it. Because I think if Megan literally just cut the string, I'd freak out. I literally would freak out.
Same.
And be like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. Now there's no order, there's no structure. And so you've created a ton of structure for us in our life, which has been very, very helpful for me to take more risks that have been more calculated risks.
I wrote down calculated.
It's
Because you said
calculated.
it earlier. That's exactly
It's
it.
calculated.
With this business, we could see potential. We could see growth. If I went and invested everything in some commodity I knew nothing about,
Yeah, it's foolish.
yeah.
At that
Well,
point, it's kind of foolish, yeah.
Yes, and focusing on one or two things, and not if if he did it on his own, he would be all over the place
That's right.
with all these different things that I would be very uncomfortable with because I would, see more risk in that.
Yeah.
in my mind, I've got two more businesses I want to start now.
yeah.
But she's
Yeah,
like,
But I'm
I
like,
have
hold
like-
up,
yeah, I'm there
you're
with
in
you.
the middle of something right now. So, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, but you worked your industry.
right.
You worked your industry. You know you've got a ton of ideas. You and I have talked for hours about ideas, but you've been faithful with your industry, right? I mean, you're really pinging your industry very, very well, and you're
And sometimes we have to say, we have to go back. What is it we do? Like,
Yeah.
let's not get distracted with something that's not in our will
Yeah.
set, and
That's
what we're
right.
supposed to be, what we're here to do.
That's so good.
That's right.
Mission,
Stick with
vision,
ballet,
values.
mission
This is what
vision,
my coach
values.
walked me through, business coach. What's our mission? What's our vision? Where do we want to go? Write this
Yeah.
stuff down. It's so
Yeah, come
important.
on.
And what are our values?
That's
the
right.
values don't change.
They don't.
Our strategy might change how to get to that vision.
That's good.
But you're right. It says what we do, and most importantly for me, it says what we don't do.
Come on.
People sometimes call. We had somebody call and say, "Hey, I'm running for office. Can your valets go hang things on doors?" Well, no, we're a parking business.
Yeah,
that's
that's
just what
right.
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not a political. I love you. We'll vote for
Yeah.
you. We'll work your campaigns, but we're a parking business.
That's it.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that helps keep me focused more.
That's right. If I would say this, if you saw that we started a bunch of ideas and we literally we'd get into it, it'd get hard, and we quit. How much how much stock would you put into the fact you think we could do it? There's a lot of guys out there, a lot of guys and gals that jump into things, they get into it, they're like, oh, this is really hard, and they're out. I mean, quite frankly, David, if that's how you performed the past 25 years, you wouldn't be where you are today, right? And you would have no faith in his
Right,
ability,
right, yeah.
So we talk about high risk, low risk. If we're a high risk person, but we can't actually put in the work, no one will trust us. Our wives will think that we're idiots.
And because
risk is stupid risk. I mean, quite frankly, it's stupid risk, right?
Yeah. And because I've seen him take the risk and do what it takes to make it work, I'm a little bit more lenient on how much risk I'm willing to take because I know that he's going to do.
He's going to follow through.
I've seen that
he's going to follow through on it.
do what it takes to get it to work, and so.
So I think that's good because we want to build up confidence for young entrepreneur couples, especially for the men. Why don't you trust me? Well, give her something to trust. That's
right.
Give her something to put a stake into and say, look, you did it here, you did it here. You're building up your record with me. I believe you can actually do it, right? I mean, I think that's very valuable.
And not to say she's a doormat at all, like, because even earlier this week, we had a big, well, it was a confrontation, disagreement over
Passionate
wages, really,
conversation.
Yeah. And she, says, this is where I stand, you do what you want, and when I'm wrong, I'll admit
tell
that
you.
you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
But she still gave me the go-ahead, but she let me know where she stood on the issue. So.
It's really important.
It is.
That's I tend to be a bull. I know that, and And
Really?
I say that, Megan, am I like a bull or am I a goat? I mean, a sheep? I mean, I don't know. But I mean, I know I tend to, if I feel really strongly about it, I'll jump into it. But I also have the check in my mind, oh, Meg's going to say something that she's right about. I already know she's going to see something that I don't see. I need to slow down and engage Meg about it and ask her perspective of whether or not it's a good move or not. Have you remember these conversations that we've had?
I know you. I know that if you present an idea in a defensive manner, that there's something in you that knows that I'm not going to agree with it because you shouldn't really go forward with it. So I think how you present an idea prefaces how I view it and whether or not I'm going to get on board or not.
That's a good point. So we already have like our own
So I
guards.
already know you.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah. I know how you approach it, to introduce something, whether or not it's something that's really viable that I should get behind, or if it's something I should just be like.
Meg is the first pitch.
Yeah.
First elevator pitch goes to Megan. But so I have to be really well prepared to pitch it. And if it falls flat, it's probably because I shouldn't do it.
That's right.
Well, I'm not always right either. I mean, the times that I put my opinion out there, it doesn't always pan out that was correct either. So we both
seldom.
are, most of the time. but yeah, we both have to be willing to say, yeah, you were right, I was wrong.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
really true. Since we're talking about marriages, can I just, there's a book that came out a long time ago, Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. And like when we were having our issue earlier in the week, she talked about our marriage. I said, no, we can compartmentalize. Like, no, that's work. This is marriage. This is home life. I can close that door and open this door. It's no big deal. Men can switch back and forth. Women cannot. It's all intertwined together. Everything touches.
What's the name of that book? I got to read that.
Yeah.
book.
Men are like waffles. There's little bitty compartments. Women are like spaghetti. It's all tangled up.
That's
all
hilarious.
wound
Okay.
up. It's great. So that was her. Like, I could separate. I could go home like, that's work. That doesn't matter here anymore.
Right.
Not her. That
I was
affects our
still.
marriage.
So separating the two is not really like a. I mean, and to your point, I mean, I think the same way, but you really
separating
can't
work and
separate it.
home.
So keep your words few, lest you might make your words sweet, lest you have to eat them at home. Right? Be mindful because you guys do work together.
Yeah.
Do you guys work? Do you office together, or do you work from home, or you do office together?
Yeah, she has her own office next to mine.
Oh wow.
She comes up in once in a while.
That's fun.
Here we go. No, I'm just kidding.
He loves to say that.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, but I think there's that part of knowing how to work together, knowing your limits as well. I think some people say, well, we've got to do that. We've got to be, Meg doesn't come into the office like that. That's not, Meg will come into the office and she will spruce things up. She'll check how is everybody doing here? What's the culture like here? She's like, James, you have absolutely nothing to eat in here. I'm like, well, why do we need anything to eat in here? She goes, you got like 10 people walking around. We need snacks. I'm like, wow. And so Meg introduced the snack basket, which literally she puts it out. By the end of the day, it's empty.
It's gone, yeah.
And I saw something in the morning. I'm like, oh, wow, that's really great. I'm like, I'll get that at lunchtime. And I go back and it's gone. I'm like, babe, come on. She goes, I put something special in your desk.
Oh,
Yeah. And so to the point, it's kind of knowing what your gifted is, your gifting, your talent, and how they can benefit one another. It doesn't have to be, Meg, I need you to be doing the books. It's like, it's not necessary.
At this point.
At this point.
This point, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning you were. I mean,
At this point, yeah. But at home, I'm the home manager. So like my business is at home. I do the bills, I do the scheduling, I do the back and forth and whatever needs to happen and stay on top of that. So at home,
you create structure for us at home.
I have that consistency and I've been faithful at home with doing
Yes, you have.
everything there. So, I mean, you don't worry about like what the lawn, like what's going to happen with that or scheduling anything. It just happens.
and the pool. You told me early on you take care of the pool.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Well, I really never wanted a pool.
Take care of the pool.
Yeah, but I never really wanted a pool. That was the thing. Megan really, really wanted a house with a pool. And I said, what was, do you remember what I said to you?
I think neither of us take care of the pool.
Oh, I don't know.
I think I said, I'll get the pool if you take care of it. And she's like, done.
That's what you told me. Yeah.
She's like, done. And Megan's been taking care of the pool the past 10 years.
I care. I like the verse that you're faithful with a little, you're blessed with a little bit more.
right.
And actually, when we built our house, we put that Bible verse into
The concrete.
And I'm just really grateful for everything that God's provided for us, and it brings me joy to to manage it and to care for it. And I don't know if that's how you feel with like your families and your businesses. It's just kind of whatever there is. I clean cars.
Yeah.
You don't really clean cars so much.
I have no interest in cleaning my car.
Yeah, but my car, I like to keep everything nice and clean, and I like to take care of what we have. Just I don't know.
Yeah.
So there isn't much need for me in the office at this point.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
have
to be honest,
other
that's
places.
a struggle that we are dealing with right now. Is he wants me in the office more than I want to be there, or
Sure.
feel like I need to be there.
That's right.
And so that's something we're working through right now. You know, because I have things at home that I need to do and
Delegation,
take care of, and
right?
all
It's,
that.
it's the art of delegation.
Yes.
And who do we trust to delegate things to? And we have personal feelings or preferences.
Yes.
But again, that's up to us. That doesn't mean now that that's the responsibility of, it's like, it's in our yard. That doesn't mean it's responsible to throw it into our wife's yard.
Yeah.
Right. Or, into her
right.
core, her area
Right.
of life.
That's so true. And with her, she does the payroll and the tax filings and basically keeps the books. And she's really good at it.
Sure.
And I love her doing it. We've hired bookkeepers in the past that have not been good, and we've had to let them go, have messed everything up. She had to go back and fix everything they did.
Yeah.
And so that's why I only trust her.
He holds me onto it.
Highly
but-
trust. It's a trust
but then
issue.
he forgets that we have children and we.
Yeah.
I don't forget.
I have things at home that I'm responsible
Yes.
for to
Yeah,
do.
absolutely.
You know that he. You know, laundry. His
Right.
laundry's always done.
I know.
How's that work?
How does that happen?
I don't know. Some little fairy comes in and does it for us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, going back to what would you recommend to young couples?
Yeah, what's your advice? What
you
is
have
it?
to figure out those roles and who's going to do what and where your time is going to be spent. You know,
Yeah.
each one of you, because
And to
everything
me, I'm
has to
not
get done.
good in the office necessarily. I like to be out with the people and working with the teams and with the crews.
Yeah,
And,
that's right.
and she does not. She'd rather be in an office by herself with no interruptions.
I always told
Absolutely.
him I wanted to be in an office, no phone, no people, just do my work in the
Bang it
office.
out.
I don't
Get
want
it done.
any-
I get in, get out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I can do it faster than,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But-
No, well, it's true.
Yeah, you don't want to just hang
I
out
don't wanna
and putt
mess
around
with
because your
people.
time is valuable.
Yes.
So something that we've had to work through in the past was when James is doing something different, he's like, who's somebody I can trust? Megan, you don't look like you're doing anything. You look like you're available. I'm going to put you on
Highly,
this.
highly trust you.
And I'm like, no,
That is not me.
that is not happening because I'm not a doormat either. And there are certain structures and there's things that I provide to our relationship and to our family that can't be delegated out.
Right.
And so,
Yeah. You're not replaceable. It's like you're
Yeah,
not a replaceable.
well, in some functions, you know, somebody else could do that. And I didn't see me doing something that somebody else could do, you know, for a wage.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing that for a wage, you know, that somebody else could be doing for a wage, and then having our children be cared for by somebody else,
Yeah.
which
Which you've put value on you
isn't
doing
the same.
that.
Yeah, because they're not gonna care about their heart the way that I do. They're not gonna pray for them. They're not caring about their future and the way that a mom does. You know. So I'm like, why would I do something somebody else could do, and then have somebody else do something that they can't be me in that situation,
Right.
and then finding that balance.
The value.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Value of your worth.
I didn't remember she's my wife, not my bookkeeper. Not my
And I think
First is the
realistically,
wife,
yeah,
the
guys,
husband.
that's
good.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, you know, for entrepreneurial couples, you know, I think that's a key thing, especially kingdom-minded entrepreneurial couples, is knowing the value that we have on one another, and what's your number one priority in your relationship, and what's your number two, and if things that could be. Like if one's like very stressful items that, you know, there's always like a lot of tension in that area of our relationship. But what can we do to remove that tension? You know, it's kind of like really listening and hearing. What's
Yeah.
Megan, I really, really, really trust you. I want you in the office. Great. That's wonderful. And I love the fact that you trust me. But when I come there, everything else here that you really, really love and you need and you depend on and you rely on when you step in through that door is not going to be there. Which one's has higher value? Which one's more important?
That's right.
You're right.
I'm like, okay, you're right. I really love the sanctuary of my home
Yeah.
and how you run it, and, how
And
you
it should be
created
peaceful.
and it should be very peaceful.
I
It should
shouldn't be stressed.
Yeah. Right. Don't.
Because
that's right.
people rely on me. We have older kids, we have younger kids, and me being available for them to just kind of come in. I think I told you before earlier this week, and we had gotten some new chairs, and I Scotch guarded them all. I'm like, oh, I went through 4 cans of Scotch guard, and these are the people that I interacted with. I'm really grateful that I could have the freedom to Scotch guard chairs and do different things and be involved in our community and be available for our
children.
family.
Yeah.
And
It's true. And
well, I'm
You're
grateful for that. Well,
so
I
you're
don't want to
thankful
just
for where
sit.
you're
I
at.
don't want to sit in like an office and like do things that somebody
we
else
could have
could
hired
do.
someone to do.
Yeah,
It's
and
true.
then later, I remember we had tried to get cleaners to come in before,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my goodness, like we paid for this. Like they didn't do this and this. It's easier for me to do things than try and delegate them out, because then I'll come back and I'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
now I need to.
That's true.
To still do all this, and I did that. So when you had asked me to do things in the office, there wasn't a trade-off, and I think that's what I told you. I'm like, well, these other things are on my plate. Find a way to get these other things off my plate, and then I can do this for
And
you.
I couldn't replace you at home.
You couldn't
And that was
replace
the
me
point. I
in
couldn't
mine.
replace her at home.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said, okay, stop, time out. Meg's right. Let me shift my brain.
Yep.
Right? We tend to hyper focus on things that are not profitable for us.
That's right.
We put our focus back
So
on
you can
things.
think about the highest value. And
Yeah.
It's the same at work. You need to focus on the highest value. What'll give me the biggest return?
That's right.
Right.
And relationally as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if we are highly stressed in our relationships, our production goes way down. Our work suffers, our team suffers, everything's like, and now we feel like in chaos, right? So I think that's really important is keep your number one focus, right?
The one thing.
The one thing that's highly relational, that's really, really important to us. Because in the end, why do we do it? If we literally didn't have a family anymore,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, having things at home orderly and running smoothly
Yeah.
gives you the freedom to go in the workplace and not think about that.
That's right. It's
that's
one less
all
burden.
you have to focus
so
on
true.
is the
Yeah.
workplace.
Like the time when you injured your knee skiing, those
Yes.
times right after you've had a baby, I realized what she does.
Yeah. Oh my
When
goodness.
it doesn't get
When
done, I
mama's
realize
down,
what she does.
There's a lot of
everything
stuff.
changes.
Those stresses me
Yes.
out, or when she goes out of
Yeah.
town or goes.
Yes.
If you could-
for me to go out of town is like
Yeah, forget
Yeah.
about it.
What?
very
She gives me a list of
difficult.
every-
Yes,
the
very
dog and the-
difficult on
or
me
youngest
and
one.
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you guys could go back and speak to yourselves when you first started and knowing what you know now and knowing what you walk through now, if you could go back and tell yourselves one piece of advice, what would you tell yourselves?
Oh, that's hard, James. That's a great
Yeah,
question.
okay, it could be anything, but what do you think would have been helpful knowing that the ups and downs, your life has not been a highlight. It's just all mountaintops, right? It's just like, oh, it's awesome.
It's
It's
a
great.
roller coaster.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a roller
Up and
coaster.
down.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
with your faith, knowing who your God is, knowing how God loves you, knowing how He cares about you, He loves the fact that you guys are service oriented, right? You provide a service for the community that has value for people. I mean, knowing that what you've done the past 27 years together as a married couple, what would you remind yourselves? Go back and remind yourselves. What would you do? What would you say?
Our answers may be different. Mine would be to act sooner on, the opportunities, what I wanted to do in my heart, like going full time with this business, pursuing this side hustle.
Yeah.
I would have done that years sooner when I had the chance. I wish
Yeah.
I'd started sooner.
Okay,
We'd be farther along now.
get in sooner.
I don't think I would change anything. I think that it has progressed the way it should have and in the best possible way. The years that we worked for other people and other companies prepared us for where we are now. And it just, all the timing was God's timing, and it was just right. It sounds cliche to say that, but I can't see it working out any differently.
You would take all
Yeah.
those. You would take all that hardship, those hard times, and you wouldn't change those.
Oh, that's sweet.
No, I
didn't know that.
wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I know.
And as much as I rail against parking,
Yeah, understood.
it has been a real blessing for us and for our family and for the community. And I see his presence out there and the way people other than me value him. and
David
you
is
know,
the guy.
Yeah,
He's the
I
only
mean,
guy
they
that
love
can drive
him.
the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, the
They
Bugatti.
love him like I love him.
Yeah.
So,
He's the only guy that can drive me from
That's
here
so
to
sweet.
Houston to
Yeah.
Colorado,
was
right?
thinking
yeah,
we have
and I'm
some-
like, that's
some
my
people
husband.
We have some people that will call before they accept an invitation to an event. They'll call me and ask if I'm going to be there, before
Yeah.
they go to the. I thought,
David,
wow, how
everybody
sweet is
knows
that?
you.
His employees,
and
they
everybody
want to
loves you.
work
So
with
how can you
him.
not
They
help people like
sign
that?
up for the events he's going to be at because they like to work with him.
We're so blessed. We're so
Yeah.
blessed.
If you had
God
if you had a scripture verse that you daily, weekly, monthly kind of like go back to from when you were young, and what would that verse be? What is that verse? Will you share that with us? That just keeps reminding you to keep your focus on your husband, on your wife, on your family, on your legacy. Like what's that verse that kind of inspires you?
Well, mine, when I went to college, I adopted Romans 12, 1 through 2. Do not conform to the ways of the world, but be a new, transformed person. And,
Yeah.
and that's always been my go-to,
That's good.
you know.
So when you're being challenged and faced with something new, and you're like, I just don't want to go this, I don't want to do this. So you remind yourself that you just got to be renewed. Renew your mind. God's there.
Yes.
He'll get you through it.
Yeah.
All right. Speak His word over your life. We'll be transformed. That's good.
Mine's also Romans 12. Interesting, but later on when he says, when you're faithful with business, you'll stand before kings.
Yeah.
And he says business, when you're faithful with his business.
Yeah.
And he will, and I think that's happened. I've been able to talk to, you showed me the book, Faith Driven Entrepreneur.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And I got
book.
the auto book right away, started listening, thought, I know all this. This
Yeah.
is so
Yeah,
fancy.
absolutely.
But then as I got farther, I'm like,
I'm
he's
missing this.
kicking my rear.
Missing
yeah,
this.
this is
Missing
good.
this.
Yeah, like, do we have opportunities that no one else has?
We do.
I'll drive people to Houston, 3.5 hours away. That would never allow me into their house to talk about the faith, but I've got them trapped in a car for
You're
4
right.
hours, and we can talk about anything. Things that I'm not preaching to them, but things come up, and I understand their lives and things
You can
that they're
speak
going
into their
through,
lives.
planting seeds.
As we wrap up this time, I
Can I
think
say one more thing? I'm sorry about the scriptures. I think
on.
also in Romans 12 it says, "As much as in you is, live at peace with each other."
live peaceable.
As much as in you, like as much as you can.
Live peaceable. Live peaceably.
John Maxwell says if you have 1% in common with some other person, you disagree on everything, you pound that 1%.
Focus on
You
what
go
is
after-
agreeable.
Right.
Yeah. That reminds me of, I don't know the reference. Go ahead.
What?
were you going to say?
I wasn't.
I don't know the reference, but I would say submit yourselves to one another and brotherly love. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think about that with Megan and I. We need to just submit to one another and brotherly love. I know they talk about husbands, love your wives. Wives, no, what is it? Husbands, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. And I said, they put that heavy focus on that. I said, no. We need to submit to one another.
And respect. Wives, respect your husbands.
Yeah, but it's like, I think more of the emphasis, submit to one another in brotherly love. And it's reminding ourselves that we need one another. We can benefit one another. Not just for what I can get or what I can, how she can help me, but it's like, no, it's literally just understanding that we need one another and we can help each other accomplish more. And so when we wrap this up, I think what's great is that risk tolerance, the two different, opposites attract, they do. It's true. But really, when you've got someone who together, you guys can accomplish, we can accomplish some great things together when we understand the value. There's times where I've thought that Megan's just being difficult and why is she preventing me from moving forward? Right? But it's really
I've been felt that way.
yeah, but really that's God's grace. It's God's grace.
That's right.
And recognizing God's grace. If we really truly believe we are submitted and that our God loves us and He cares about us. If we truly believe that, then we will recognize the fact that our partners are there to help us. We can see God's work in our lives through our partners, and vice versa, right? And so I just want to thank you guys for joining us.
Yes.
This has
Thank
been
you. Thank you.
really good. You guys are really the first couple that we've interviewed in this new venture.
honor.
It's a new venture.
Yes. It's
we've-
helped us too.
Yes.
Just relive some memories.
And that's really that was the goal.
has.
We really want, there's ministry that needs to be done for entrepreneurial couples. We're in the trenches every day. We're in the trenches. And sometimes we feel like we're in the trenches and you guys are, our spouses are in the opposite trench, right? But we've been married together. We're going 22 years. You guys are 25 years.
27.
And 27
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And so in that, a lot of entrepreneurial couples don't make it. They're working on their second or third marriages. And so there's a lot of things there that when we're faith, we keep faith at the forefront of what we do. It is who we are. We keep God's word in front of us. It is our foundation that we love one another. We forgive one another. That applies into business as well. So thank you for being here. Hopefully you'll be able to come back and join us in the future as well.
That'd be great.
So
I was thinking any one of these issues we could just do a whole show
We
on.
could.
we really
Yes.
did. Any one of them. It's so true. It's so true. It's sky's the limit in this industry. So you know, in
We
this,
love you
this
guys, and
conversation.
this has been an honor. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, guys. All right. Hey, thanks again for joining us, guys. Looking forward to you subscribing, hitting that like button, ring the bell, send us a message down below. We'd love to comment to you. Thanks again for joining us.